Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist, and today we're going to be doing a Magical Musketeer deck profile. So this deck is a really good deck for the upcoming format because it just has so much versatility and it doesn't really care about hand traps. With Call by the Grave being limited to 1, it's just not that big of a deal for this particular deck. I would take this deck into a tournament at any time and still probably come out close to, if not on top, with this deck. It's super fun to play around with it, and it actually is really budget now because you can play your Magical Musketeer cast bars, and they're like $1/4 a piece now, and Starfires are the same. So, without further ado, guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell on there so you can come part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below because we have some awesome rewards, you guys, like getting your name in the description for every single video, getting a signed card sent in the mail, or even getting a requested deck profile just like this one every single month that you're a patron, along with test hands. So, without further ado, let's get straight on into this. So first off, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Magical Musketeer cast bar. So all of your Magical Musketeers share the same ability, that if a spell or trap is activated in the same column as them, then you get to activate a particular effect. With cast bar's particular effect, you get to add a Magical Musketeer card from your deck to your hand. And they also share abilities that during either player's turn, you can activate Magical Musketeer spells or traps from your hand. So this deck essentially becomes hand traps the deck, which is pretty cool. So basically you can activate all sorts of different stuff from Desperado to your Cross Domination, all sorts of different cool spells and traps that are in your hand while not being on the field, so your opponent can't really touch them. We then play 3 copies of Kid Brave. Kid Brave, if a spell trap is activated in his column, then you get to discard a Magical Musketeer card and then draw 2 cards, which is really good to get you a +1 to be able to get you an additional card in your hand. We then play a single copy of Doc. If a spell trap is activated in his column, which can be on your side of the field or your opponent's side of the field, if they activate a card in Doc's column on your opponent's side of the field, then you get to add a spell or trap that's a Magical Musketeer spell or trap from your graveyard to your hand, or Magical Musketeer card, any Magical Musketeer card. So any of the monsters, any of the spells and traps, it's just a overall really good card to recover cards. We then play 3 copies of Starfire. Starfire is really good in the deck too, because Starfire, if a spell or trap is activated in her column, then you get to special summon a level 4 or lower Magical Musketeer from your deck in defense position, which is pretty good just to be able to get any Magical Musketeer you want out of your deck onto your side of the field. Usually you'll get cast bar, but if you don't have another spell or trap, you can just special summon a level 4, go into Utopia Double, and OTK your opponent. We then play a single copy of Wild. Wild is one of those questionable cards that you play in the deck. I like Wild as because it can shuffle 3 Magical Musketeer cards from your graveyard back into the deck, and then you get to draw a card. So it can help you recover a lot of your cards that you use if you go into the grind game, which this deck can go into the grind game quite often. It's really easy to go into turn like 5, or not turn 5, but like turn 7, 9, even higher than that. It's just a really good deck overall to go in grind game. We then play a single copy of Calamity. Calamity, if a spell or trap is activated in her column, then you get to special summon a Magical Musketeer from your graveyard, which is pretty good to get you additional XZ plays, get you Link plays, all sorts of really good plays with your Calamity. We then play 3 copies of Ash Blossom. The 3 Ash Blossoms are super good in this deck because they get you, they stop your opponent from doing stuff, and hand traps are even more powerful now that Call by the Grave is at 1, unfortunately. But this card is really good in the deck. And then we play a single copy of Dark Magician and a single copy of Red Eyes Black Dragon, because it's really easy to get 2 monsters on your side of the field. Like using your copy of Starfire or your Calamity to get 2 monsters on your field is really, really easy. And so you want to go into your copy of Red Eyes Dark Dragoon in this deck. It's ridiculously easy to summon. And you even have stuff like your Magical Musketeer Max, which can let you immediately, after this card resolves, you get to special summon Magical Musketeers, which is really easy to just immediately go into a copy of your Red Eyes Dark Dragoons. It's just too easy in this deck to summon. We then play, for the spells, we're going to move straight on into the spells. For the spells, we're going to be playing a single copy of Monster Reborn. Monster Reborn is a good extender in the deck and just helps out quite a lot to get you a bunch of monsters out on your field. We play the one Call by the Grave, unfortunately. Call by the Grave is turned into kind of a weird card. Like, I love it still, but it's just a good one of now because it's limited to 1. I think it's going to go back to 2. I really don't think that they'll keep it at 1. It's kind of like, it's not ban worthy, but it kind of sucks because they're also like limiting this. We know why they're doing this. They're doing it for triple tactical talents. Like that, we all know that they're trying to force us to play that over Call by the Grave. It's kind of silly to me, but hey, whatever. But what this card does is it lets you basically stop a hand trap, which is really good. We then play a single copy of Harpy's Feather Duster, which is again at 1, which is really good. I'm really excited that they put this card back at 1. It helps out a lot because it can force your opponent to activate any spells and traps that they have in their back row, which can benefit you a lot with your Magical Musketeers, because if you play your cards right, and you have cards in your opponent, like if your opponent has like a set card in column 2 and column 4, you want to normal summon to column 2 and column 4, so you can get those spell or traps to be able to either be totally null and void, or you're going to get a plus off of them, which is super nice. We play a single copy of Instant Fusion. This is how I'm handling Call by the Grave being at 1, is I'm playing Instant Fusion with a Millenniumize and a Link Rebo in the extra deck for extra decks that aren't super tight, because it's essentially you use this, your opponent either stops this, or you get the Millenniumize and you get a negation, and then when the coast is clear, you go for Link Rebo, and then it baits an attack too. It's almost better than what Call by the Grave was, because this card can just stop a hand trap and then gobble it up, and it gives you a monster, which is pretty good too. We play a single copy of Double or Nothing. Double or Nothing just is the OTK card of the deck that helps you get a 10,000 beat stick on your side of the field in the form of Utopia Double. We then play 2 copies of Cosmic Cyclone. Cosmic Cyclone just banishes a spell or trap, stops cards like Mystic Mine, which dumbfounds me that is not banned, but hey, whatever. We then play a single copy of Red Eyes Fusion because you are going to summon the Red Eyes Dark Dragoon in this deck. It's really powerful and really good in this deck. 1 copy of Steady Hand. Steady Hand is good because it lets you target a Magical Musketeer and double its attack, which is awesome. And then we play the best spell in the entire deck, and then it's 3 copies of Cross Domination. Cross Domination, if you control a Magical Musketeer, you can target a face-up monster on the field, and until the end phase, its attack and defense becomes 0, and its effects are negated. Really, really good effect, and helps you bait out Dragoons. Well, you can't target it, so never mind. But still really good. So that's it for the spells. Let's get into the traps. So for the traps, we're playing a single copy of Dancing Needle. Dancing Needle is really good because it can banish 3 cards from your either player's graveyard, which is really good. 1 copy of Crooked Crown. Crooked Crown lets you can only control 1 of it, and then during your main phase, you can special summon a Magical Musketeer monster from your hand, and if you do, your opponent's main monster zone and that card's column cannot be used, which is pretty good to be able to just block out a zone. 1 copy of Fiendish Deal. Fiendish Deal makes it so that your cards can't be destroyed by card effects. Your Magical Musketeer monsters can't be destroyed by card effects. And if this card in your possession is sent to the graveyard by an opponent's card effect, then you can add a Magical Musketeer card from your deck or graveyard to your hand. 3 copies of Desperado, which is insanely good. It is a targeting. It does pop target, but it can pop any card on the field, which is really cool that's face up. We play 2 copies of Last Stand. Last Stand negates a spell or trap, which is really good as well. And then we play 3 copies of Solemn Judgment. Judgment is really good in the way I stop Anaconda, because you're usually going to want to go first, establish your board. Even just normal summon out a copy of Caspar, set a bunch of back row, and then pass like your Judgments, and then have these in your hand to be able to pop cards. Like, you can activate Desperado from your hand and Last Stand from your hand during your opponent's turn, which is really good, and Cross Dom, which is amazing. And it's just a really, really good setup for control, and then finally OTKing them with Utopia Double and Dragoons. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, we're going to be playing 2 copies of Magical Musketeer Max. I bumped this card down to fit Dragoons in the extra deck. You just need 2 of it. I don't even usually summon 2. If I summon it, it's usually a game over for my opponent, because if it resolves, I'm going to get like 5 cards on my side of the field, which is going to be ridiculous, and I'm just going to win this way. We play a single copy of Access Code Talker because it helps us out with OTKing, again, because it can get big, and also it can pop multiple cards on the field. Unicorn to be able to spin stuff, Phoenix to pop spells and traps, Cerberus to pop monsters, Anaconda for Dragoons, and a single copy of Link Rebo for the copy of our Millenniumize, which is really, really, really good. A single copy of Red Eyes Dark Dragoon. This card is insane. And if you can put it in just about any deck. I'm not going to put it in every single deck, but the decks that I see that can use that little extra oomph with them, I'm probably going to put it in there. But it's a really good card that basically lets you pop 2 cards a turn and deal your opponent damage equal to the monsters that you pop's attack points. It can be targeted or destroyed by card effects, and it also has the ability that if your opponent activates something, then you can discard a card and negate the activation. If you do, this card gains a stack, which is really good to have a 4K beat stick on your side of the field. Millenniumize Restrict, which is also one of the most broken fusion cards ever made. This card's how I'm handling hand traps with the Call by the Grave and the Instant Fusion, because once per turn when an opponent activates a monster effect, quick effect, you can target one of effect monster your opponent controls or in their graveyard, and you equip to this card, and then it negates that card's effects while it's equipped to this card. So if your opponent has multiple ashes, it's like, nah, I don't care. I don't care. I have Millennium Eyes. So this card's really helpful just to be able to stop your opponent's hand traps and stop a lot of other cards, especially if they have a board and they allow this card to get out on the field. They either have to block it or they have to just take the risk of losing a monster, especially if they have like Savage Dragon and then you just gobble up the Savage Dragon and make this a 3k beat stick. You can kind of read the opponent's field if you want to put it in attack and defense. We then play a single copy of Utopia for the Utopia Double and a copy of Utopia Double. Utopia Double is really good in the deck because you can OTK your opponent with a 10,000 attack point Utopia by just summoning this, detaching material, searching the copy of Double or Nothing, putting a Utopia on top of the double, and then Utopia comes out at 5,000, attack your opponent, detach a material, negate the attack, and then drop Double or Nothing and attack for 10,000 because it doubles the attack of the monster, which is really good. Exciton Knight just to kind of bait Dragoons, and it kind of helps out a lot to be able to just board wipe your opponent just in case you need it. Abyss Dweller shuts down graveyards, and then number 60, because I think it's probably the best, I think it's probably, in my opinion, the best rank 4 in the game because it doubles the attack of a monster unless you draw 2 and discard 1. And it can just net you so much advantage and brings back a monster from the graveyard. I mean, it's really good. You can almost summon it for free because you can just bring back a monster from the graveyard until you really just put one monster into it, which is really cool. But that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you did enjoy it. It's a super fun deck to play around with. You don't have to play Dragoons, but I highly suggest it. It's really good in the deck. But if you don't want to play it, you can play 3 more hand traps in the deck, drop the copy of Dragoons, and play any rank 4 that you want. I know a lot of people are not wanting to play Dragoons, but it's just, it is that good. I mean, it really, you need to play it. So that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you did enjoy it. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and don't forget to check out the Patreon down in the description below, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.